Okay, so we've got our motors and sensors set up. We know our program has to be written under task main in between the two curly brackets here. Now, let's write some commands, huh? You will find these if you drop down natural language over here in the function library, and if you drop down wait, until, special, and movement. Basically the last four in the underneath the natural language. Okay? And there are 6 commands that we use most often. And especially for the first couple of days, these are the only 6 commands that you will be using. They are wait time in milliseconds, until touch, turn LED on, turn LED off, stop motor, and start motor. So those 6 again. Wait time in milliseconds, until touch, LED on, LED off, stop motor, start motor. Now with those 6 commands, you can do everything I'm going to ask of you. It's just up to you to what order that they go in is what makes it different. Alright, so say, real simple program here. Say I want a motor to start, I want it to run for, say, 5 seconds, and then I want it to stop. Okay, real simple, right? Here's how I would go about doing that. Now you can just key all these commands in if you want. You can. A lot of kids by the end especially find it way faster to do it that way than this, but I'm a fan of making things easy on myself, so you can click and drag and drop them, and then they're right in there. So say I wanted to start a motor, but I got to start it. Then I got to, and say I want it to run for 5 seconds, I got to give it a wait time before I turn it off. So I go start motor, give it a wait time in between, and then tell it to stop. Alright, now you'll notice the blue is the command, and then you'll notice there in the red brackets, it's written in black. That's the program asking you a question. It's saying, okay, so your command is start motor. Well, what motor do you want to start? That's where motor port. You scroll back up here, find out, okay, say I want my right motor. It's in port 2. So that's what I type where it asks that question. What motor port? Port 2. You'll notice then it turns into red, just like it is up here. These are the locations, and you are basically giving the commands those locations. Alright, now the motors, at least when you start them, you have to set a speed. How fast do you want the motor to run? So take a note of this. The range for your motors, the speed range is 0, not moving, to 127. That's its max speed. Now that number has no bearing on like miles per hour or revolutions per minute or anything like that. It's an electric motor, so that's just the power range. The motor really won't move unless you're at about 25 for a speed. So if you want something to go really slow, don't think putting in a 5, like the motor won't move. That's not enough power to even turn it. So really the working range of it is about 25 to that 127. And I would strongly encourage not to put it at full power until you are comfortable with the motor and how it moves and how it's going to be used. Okay? Because obviously if it's going to If it's going to be a failure or a mistake of some kind, you would rather have it moving at half speed than full speed, right? So that's just a good rule of thumb until you're comfortable with everything. So say, like I put a speed of 80 in there. All right. Now, a habit that I require of you is after each command, you write yourself a little note as to what you were accomplishing, or what you were at least intending to accomplish with that command. Now, the first couple of programs you write that are just 5-10 lines long, not a huge deal. If something goes wrong, you can look through it and probably do your troubleshooting, and it's not going to take all that much time. But by Friday, you're going to be writing programs that are 60 plus lines long. You make one mistake in there. Do you really want to go back through all 60 lines of that code and think about, okay, what was I trying to do here? No. You want to save yourself time. So write yourself a little note. How you do that is, like I said, anything in green is just for humans, not the computer. So if I go shift, oops, just kidding, not shift, // if I do 2 of those, notice how it turned green. So like 1 slash, 2 slashes, I'm in the green type. And now everything I type is in green, and I know that it's just for me. So with this command, what was I trying to do? And start right motor at 80 speed. Okay? It doesn't have to be a sentence. It's a note to you more than anything. So make sure you understand it, and that's really it. It doesn't matter about spelling, none of that, which is awesome for me. Now wait time in milliseconds. How many milliseconds equals 1 second? 1,000. So say if I wanted this motor to run for 4 seconds, how many milliseconds would that be? What if I wanted it to run for 4.8 seconds? How many milliseconds would that be? 4,800. So keep that in mind. It's way easier than if you use the wait time over here, which is full seconds. You're much more accurate with those fractions of a second when you use the milliseconds. So that's why I say use the milliseconds. So yeah, say we're going to run it for 3,700 milliseconds. So how many seconds would that be? How many? 3.7, right? Right motor runs for 3.7 seconds. Huh? Then stop motor. You got to stop the same motor you started. So same location. Port 2. And if you want to get in the habit of just copying and pasting things, I'm fine with that. However you want. Whatever makes things easier for you. Okay, so 3 lines, real simple. Motor's going to start, it's going to run for 3.7 seconds, and then it's going to stop. All right. Well, let's add a couple more things into this. Let's make it a little more complex. Now, keep in mind, white space, or these blank lines, those are just for you. The computer, or the program, doesn't care. It looks for the command in blue, the location, and then the semicolon. That semicolon signifies end of command. Once it has that, it goes right to the next command. So as much space in between here, it's not like that's going to make it delayed or anything like that. If you want to delay, you got to have the wait time in there. Ooh. So all this white space is just for you. So format it however you want, right? Then you can tab over too if you want. A lot of people, like, they'll start motor and they'll put their wait times like a tab over just to make it easier to read. Keep that in mind. So let's say we don't want this motor to start until we hit a switch. So we want like a go switch, right? Here's how you do that. Since all of our switches are touch sensors, we use the until touch command. That means until that touch sensor is activated, nothing's going to happen. So put that before whatever you want to happen. Until touch. So what do we want to use? Limit switch or bump switch? Bump. Okay. Bump switch is in digital port 1. Remember, this is DGTL1. So, where is that? DGTL1. Write myself a little note here. Go switch, I'm going to call that. And let's also let's turn our LEDs on somewhere. Let's say, okay, 3.7 seconds happens. Then I want my LED to turn on. I want my LED to be on for a certain amount of time, and then I want to turn it off. How about that? Alright, which LED do we want to turn on? There's no blue one. Red one, digital port 8. Remember, DGTL 8. So, just tell it where the location is. DGTL 8. Wait time, how long do we want it to run for? 5 seconds. So how many milliseconds would that be? 5,000. And then turn it off. DGTL 8. Now, then this will happen a time or two where you kind of get ahead of yourself, but don't get too ahead of your notes. So this is LED on. 5 seconds. And then don't forget those 2 forward slashes there. Otherwise it takes it as a command. And then alright. Okay, then let's say, so we got a switch to start it. Let's have a switch to stop it too. So we got a start motor, 3.7 seconds is going to happen, then our red LED is going to turn on, it'll be on for 5 seconds, then it will turn off. Now, the way we have it written now, then the motor will stop. But we can change that by, say we don't want the motor to stop until we hit the switch again, and thus shutting it off. So we get another until touch. What sensor port? Let's hit the same switch even. You can repurpose the switches for different things in a program. So DGTL1. Basically off switch. Alright. And then let's do a little light show here. So after my red one turns on, let's put a very small wait time. How long is that? Yeah, 0.4 seconds. And then, now I'm just going to save myself some time. I want to turn the other LED on and off, but I already got these commands pretty much all written out. So I'm just going to copy them, and I'm going to paste them. But instead of port 8, I'm going to change these to port 7. And instead of the red LED, it would be the green LED. See how much time that saved? I didn't have to redo all that. I just changed a couple of things. And then let's wait another amount of time. And Doing it again with the other LED.